Everybody, and thank you for being here. Week one of the college football season. It's an exciting time. So with me, I have Coach Vincent. We have Dylan Hopkins and Starling Thomas. So with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Vincent. We open up Thursday night, September 1st, against Alabama A&M. Coach, an opening statement.
Game week, right? Game week. So we're all excited. It's finally game week. It's finally here. Got a lot of respect for Alabama A&M, Coach Maynor, everything that those guys have done. You know, we've played them before here in the past. Won the 2020 conference championship, you know, in the short COVID year. Then they come back and go 7-3. You know, he's had if you go back and you look at the history of the teams that Coach Maynor's coached, obviously being a former quarterback and an offensive guy, they've scored a lot of points. And they've got a lot of tradition. They've got a great fan base. Great alumni, and we know they're going to bring a big crowd and a loud band coming in Thursday night into Protective Stadium.
And if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll use the mic.
Obviously look at A&M, and they lost to Quill Glass, a great player for Alabama A&M. You know, what do y'all expect from them as far as a quarterback, coming into this game?
Well, you know, that kind of goes back to Coach Maynor's history, and you go back and you look at the history of his quarterbacks and his program. They've been very good offensively. So there's no doubt in my mind, he'll have a quarterback that's ready to play. You know, they've got a lot of speed on offense. They've got a good receiving core coming back. They've got cores at the running back from Alabama. That's more of a 5'9", 180, 190-pound running back. Then they've got a big back and a 5'11", 220-pound. So we fully expect those guys to be prepared and be very good offensively.
Obviously, it's a little different feel for you, I would think. I mean, is it a different feel for you right now than in the years past here?
You know, it's game week. At the end of the day, our kids have went through another fall camp. They're excited to play. I think our leadership has grown. You know, obviously, just being the offensive coordinator here the last several years, obviously it is different when you step in the head coaching position. But, you know, it's football. You know, we're getting our team ready to play. We're excited. We get to play at home to open the season at home this Thursday night. So, you know, it's a lot of the same, but just a little bit different. But we're excited, man. I'm excited to lead this team this Thursday night for this university, for this town, and excited just to kick off the 2022 season, to get started, to start this journey with a football team that has a lot of pride and a lot of passion for UAB, for each other, and for this town. And I'm just telling you, our team's excited, our kids are excited, and we're ready to kick it off.
What are the differences for you this week as you go into coaching your first college game as head coach rather than just as offensive coordinator? Is there anything kind of different that you've got scheduled or planned, or any little things that you did while as an offensive coordinator that you might carry over to this new position and new role?
Well, you know, I'm a routine guy. Everybody's different. I'm a routine guy all the way up to the night before the game, how we play out the game in our minds as a staff going into it, kind of like a rehearsal going into it. So not really. Everything's kind of on point, just staying in our routine of what we do here, what we've done here, all of our standards, all of our traditions, all of our routines here. It's the same.
You have several positions that are really deep. You know, I mean, the depth chart probably doesn't cover all of it. You know, but does it take a couple games to figure out kind of rotations? I mean, I know you got a rotation going into this one, but could it change after a couple games and that type of thing?
I think it can. You know, anytime we've got depth here. You know, we've recruited extremely well. We've got experience coming back. But as the games go, game 1 to game 2 to game 3, you see guys that start to take off, that get comfortable, that guys that might have been a backup last year are really pushing to start and play this year. And then as the game goes, you just see them get more comfortable, and guys start to accelerate, and guys start to really prove themselves that they're ready for more, that they can handle more, that they can step up and play and do things for this football team.
Going into your What advantage is it to having having a quarterback who's been there? You know, it's not his first time starting, and you kind of know what to expect with him. Is that an advantage, you think?
Without a doubt, I think anytime you have a quarterback that has experience, it's something that we say in this building a lot, you can't buy experience. So anytime you have a quarterback that is experienced and coming back and that has played in big games and went out and won big games and been in those moments, I think it's a huge advantage for your football team, and it's something that we're very comfortable with. We feel like Dylan has a great grasp of the offense. He understands all the protections. He understands all of our checks. So it's a really good feeling having Dylan starting this game going into game one.
Speaking of running backs, real quick, Lucius Stanley was added to Miami this morning as someone who coached him for a few years. Just talk about his contributions for UAB and you know what kind of player he is, and especially having another chance to finish out his career.
You know, I talked to Lucius a couple days on the phone a couple days ago, and Lucius for about 2 years was our number 3 back. And then when we had a couple of injuries that season, he was able to come in and give us some big games. You know, I think UTSA was one of the games 2 years ago. He came in and rushed for over 100 yards. So Lucius was always ready for his role, and he embraced his role, and he really stepped up for our football team when we needed him. And for him to have the opportunity to go down there, I understand, you know, Miami's had a couple injuries at the running back position, and for him to come in and be that guy for him, I think he'll go down there and be very successful.
Over for Bill Clark, who's kind of like a living hero for UAB football fans. You know, what is that like, and have you put your own stamp on the team, or how have you approached this season as the coach?
You know, something that comes to my mind when you say Bill Clark is, I don't know if there's any one player, if there's any one man, you know, that's done more or is as important to UAB football as Bill Clark. And I think his legacy here is cemented. His leadership, all the things that he's done for this football team and led this program and this town through is just, it's unprecedented. And, you know, Bill Clark is UAB football. And to be able to replicate that is just not going to happen. You know, Bill Clark will always be one of the founding fathers, one of the guys that really got UAB to where it's at now. And for me, you know, I'm Bryant Vincent. I'm not Bill Clark. Bill's a mentor of mine. He's a close friend of mine. You know, I wake up every day and attack this job with the emphasis trying to make him proud, being able to follow throughout, you know, after his footsteps. So, but I am going to be Bryant Vincent. And, you know, I have a lot of pride. I have a lot of passion for this university and for this football program and these players. I was here in 14. I was here in the first championship in 18. I was here in the first bowl win in 18, to the second West, to the third West, to the second conference championship in 2020. And my goal and my passion is to continue everything that Coach Clark built in this city, in this university, and to continue to raise the standards and to elevate the standards and to go out and chase another conference championship.
Before the season, there was a lot of talk about the defensive line, the defensive front. Just kind of, you know, did you have the pieces? Where they fit and that type of thing? What's your feel on that going into the game, and will you be able to answer it obviously more clearly after game one?
I think our defensive line has progressed throughout fall camp. I think we've gotten better every day. You're going to see some guys on that defensive front that maybe you haven't heard of as much in the past, like a Fish McWilliams, like an Isaiah Forte, like a Kelly Sanders, like a Michael Fairbanks, like a Kyle Harold. You're going to see guys that maybe you haven't heard as much of in the past because of the Alex Wrights, you know, of the world. And these guys have embraced, you know, their leadership. They've embraced being the next guy up, and I think our defensive line has progressed, like I said, progressed daily, weekly, and they're up to the challenge and they're ready to go.
Coach, looking at the A&M side, with them bringing in so many transfers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, can you talk about how unique it is that they might have 11 new starters on defense, and how do you prepare for that?
I think anytime, we know they've got over 30 transfers since last season. That's kind of what college football is today. So we're kind of prepared, whether it's a 4-down front, whether it's an odd front, all the different coverages, man coverage, cover 3. We're prepared, so we've really thrown everything at our football team, and our defense kind of does that daily throughout fall camp. So we know that anytime you open up a season, it's game one, there's always variables. There's always things that you haven't seen, things you haven't prepared for. People have put in new wrinkles schematically, whether it's offense, defense, special teams throughout the offseason. They feel like fits their personnel. And so obviously we understand going into game one there are always going to be some variables, but we feel like our team is prepared to handle those for what we do in practice every day and put them through. And we feel like this team is ready and excited to play this game.
Any other questions for Coach Vincent?
Appreciate you guys being here, man. Let's get ready to go. Go Blazers.
We'll now move Dylan Hopkins up to the podium. Dylan was named QB1 just last week. He was 7-3 as a starter last year, and he's 10-5 as a starter at UAB in his career.
What are your thoughts just going into the opener?
I think really I think we're all ready to play someone else and tired of hitting ourselves, I think this team's super excited about this year with everyone coming back, a bunch of new people coming too, but I think this year's going to be special.
Kind of just, I guess, describe what this camp's been like for you. You're healthy, you're the guy that's QB1 and that type of stuff. How's this camp been for you, and has it been different than any of the other camps?
I think it definitely has. I'd say this is probably my best camp. I know with the quarterback room too, just the level of competition is definitely boosting everyone in the room each day. That was a huge part of it too. But I think just how high the bar is this year for us. The expectations for us. That's probably the really big push this year so far.
So many transfers for Alabama A&M on the defensive side. Just how do you prepare for a team like that? Try to dissect the defense. Film room. Game planning, things like that before the game. Not having film with all of them together. On the field at the same time.
It's definitely different going in. Just from watching last year film. But I think not having a game that being our home opener is definitely different. But I think we'll be ready for anything, especially with all the new transfers. And just don't expect the same team as last year. Expect them to come out and be ready to play.
Joseph Goodman, how is this team going to be different with a new coach?
I'd definitely start with last year. Those last 4 games were huge, and just coming off that big win, that especially sets the bar high. But I think everyone's really looking up to him too, with Coach Clark being gone, but. Nothing's changed though. It's still the same goal, and just we want to win for Coach and do everything we can for him.
For you as a quarterback, last year you had Pittman and Prince to sort of bail you out at times. You always knew you could sort of look, rely on them. Does it take a minute, or has it taken a minute during camp to figure out who those guys are going to be? Not necessarily tight ends, just as a receiver in general.
A little bit. Garrett and Pittman were 2 really, really good tight ends for us and started a lot of games for us. But I also think we also have the best running back room in this conference. I think we have the best receiver core in this conference. I really do, and the O-line. So when you have guys like Debo and Skull, it definitely makes things a lot easier.
Just kind of talk about that receiver. You say it's the best. You think it's the best in the conference. There's a lot of guys there that maybe a fan hasn't seen, or at least proven. Just talk about that group in general and what you've seen from them.
This camp alone. I know last year Trey Shropshire, he was our main guy, but I really do think we have Tayshaun Palmer, T.J. Jones, Flip. I think as really the depth of the wide receiver room is definitely like a big difference. And just all camp too, those guys have been grinding. They work hard. They're all leaders, so I'm really looking forward to that group.
And Dylan, with the guys up front that protect you, just talk a little bit about how comfortable you are in the pocket, knowing that a bunch of those guys are back this year to protect.
Oh yeah, everyone's really back this year. I know last year we lost Colby Ragland, which he was a huge leader on the offensive line, but those guys like Treehorn, Telly, I mean, even Will Riker, charged a true freshman. Those guys have a lot of experience, and they know what they're doing. They know all the calls. They know all the checks, and that makes me have 10 times more confidence than I do going back there with just a new group.
Dylan, y'all are coming off arguably the biggest victory in UAB football history to begin this season. How did that win against BYU affect the team in the offseason?
I think that I definitely showed everyone that no matter who the team is, no matter what they're ranked, that we can go in there and play ball. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't think we were going to win that game, even come close in that game, but I definitely think that we proved to everyone that we can play with this team. We can beat whoever as long as we can play.
Thank you. And now we'll move cornerback Starling Thomas, the 5th, up to the podium. Starling's entering his 3rd year as a starter. He was just recently named to the Risa Senior Bowl watch list.
You look at Alabama, they lost a great quarterback who had been starting with them for many years, and they also lost one of their top receivers, but they also get one back, and I believe it's 82. Just talk about having to, possibly guard a guy, who had 1,000 yards last year, and, what have you seen from him on film?
We just going into the game really respecting these guys. Even though they play up under us, like in the lower level, we still got to come into the game with respect, knowing that they still can play football. So even though they lost a quarterback, I'm pretty sure they going to get a good one in. And number 82, we really haven't seen much of him on film because he's a transfer, but we ready to play him regardless.
For you going in, to your final year, going in senior year, I mean, how different is it right now for you? And you, I mean, obviously you're preparing and you're doing that type of stuff, but do you ever reflect back on just how far you've come in the injury year and just different things like that?
Yeah, man. Since I've been here at UAB, I done went through some things, and I grew a lot throughout the years, and it's been fun for me, even though I had to go through all those tasks. But now I'm in a leader position, and the guys that came before me, such as Bronte Harris and Roger Thomas, they taught me how to be a leader of this team and show guys the right way. And I'm just trying to bring the guys along with me. So that's how we coming this
year. Is the leader role natural for you, or is that something that you really had to kind of learn?
It was pretty natural to me. Sometimes I'm not much of a speaker as much of a leader, but when I speak, I expect people to listen, and my team does. And I just want to show them the right way to do things and show them that we're here to win and bring the UAB way to them.
Starling, not just defending Ibrahim for A&M, but how excited are you in the return game to hopefully take one to the house?
Oh, man, I love the return game. Coach told me as long as I could be smart, I have the green light, so we can expect some big returns this year, and we pray that we can get into the end zone, so it's going to be a show.
Starling, Joseph Goodman, how is the overall attitude of the team different now compared to when you first got here?
The expectations are different. When I first got here, we was just trying to win. Now, everybody, we expect to win. And practice is different. There's more competition everywhere. In the rooms, there's more depth. Outside on the field, going against the receivers, they push us every day to get better. And going against the running backs, they help us tackle better. And going against the tight ends, it's just competition everywhere on the team. And everybody just getting better, iron sharp as iron. So.
Internally inside the team, how did the win against BYU, affect you guys? It's arguably the biggest win in UAB football history. Did it? Do you guys feel you guys are a lot better after that win, or how did it change you guys?
That game was definitely a confidence booster for us. We just felt like if we can beat number 13 team in the nation, we can beat anybody else in Conference USA. We feel like coming into this spring, we worked as hard as we did. In the summer, we worked as hard as we ever worked. And coming to fall camp, we worked harder than we ever worked. We just expect to be the best now. We expect it.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you at Protective Stadium on Thursday night.